Good afternoon, Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to our talk show, Talking Point. I'm your host, Syed Niaz Ahmed. In our studios today, we have a very distinguished academic, a writer, and an observer of things, and I would call him also a historian. Professor Manzoor Islam, he was born in what was then East Pakistan. He is still in his teens. He witnessed the Liberation War. He almost prepared for himself for that, but he was lucky enough that by then the country was liberated. Welcome to the show, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Niaz Bhai, for inviting me to your show. Hopefully we have a productive and creative discussion.
Inshallah we will. Inshallah we will. He joined forces, as I said, to fight for the country, but he was lucky, and we were all lucky that by then the country was independent. Now, then he came to England as a political refugee. He studied at the university and became racial harassment officer at the East London borough of Tower Hamlets. That must have been a turning point in your career.
Yeah, it was very interesting. Out of that experience that I wrote my first collection of stories, the Mapmakers of Spittlefield.
Right.
And before that, I was preparing myself for an academic career. I did my first degree in philosophy, did my PhD in literature, but never thought of writing fiction or creatively.
Right.
So out of that experience working in East London as a racial harassment officer, so I wanted to tell the story that statistics, facts and figures couldn't tell.
And that became a popular book?
Yeah, it became a popular book. I'm happy to say it's taught in many universities across the world. It has just been translated into French.
Great.
I have been to Paris a few days ago to present this book. There was a lot of attendance and a lot of interest in the book.
Right. See, so that's a book that has provided the lead, and probably people in all over Europe will be able to interpret what you have written, and then they'll be able to improve things at the end.
Yeah, hopefully. But my ultimate dream is that one day this book will be translated into Bangla, because I want the readers in Bangladesh to read my stories.
Inshallah. How good is your Bangla?
I can speak. Within our family we speak almost every day in Bangla, but I'm not used to writing Bangla for last 50 years. So
right. But in that book you spoke not only about the harassment and racial harassment, but you also talked about the creativity of the Bengali community that was in
I mean the main story, the Mapmakers of Spittlefield, how the migrants creating our own map, our secret underground map, if you like, a city within a city, how we are symbolically constructing a new city so that we can call it our homeland. That was the project of the book. Obviously that project also, it is kind of to and fro journey from Bangladesh and here, and me being a first generation migrant, we are straddled between, in our imagination, between two places. So many of the stories reflect that as well.
So it's not just a historical book, but it's also fiction plus fact.
No, it is all fiction. All fiction, and some of them are based on particularly one story, the Tower of the Orient, is to an extent based on my personal experience of working as a racial harassment officer in the borough of Tower Hamlets.
Do they still have racial harassment officers now? or has the matter been dealt with?
I'm not corrected for last 40 years, so I don't know.
Probably your book has done the good work.
I hope so. I hope it has killed all the racist tendency. But they're still here. Yeah, they're still here.
That's a fact that will always be there.
Yeah.
You see, there are some people will be always there to make such noises.
Yeah.
But it's the homogeneity of the population and the contribution, as you talk about, the creativity of the Bangladeshi and the other people who have come from abroad and are living here, that make the British society. That's why we have writers, we have football players, we have politicians from of different colors and sizes and languages and backgrounds in this city. This is a great tribute to the tolerance, the understanding, and the good work done by both communities.
Yeah. I mean, it's not just simply due to the generosity of the host community, but we had to struggle and fight as well, because the Mapmaker of Spittlefield and subsequently the full-length novel that I wrote in Barrow, based on that experience, it is also a testimony, a record of the struggle, the way Bangladeshi community, like other migrant community, struggled fought to establish their own kind of homeland in England, to claim a part of England as their own, and we had to fight a lot for that as well.
See. But East London, as it is called, it has a very rich history of people coming from abroad, settling there, and then moving out from there after they have made it. That is that's why in my novel Barrow there are two symbolic events. On the one hand, you have the Battle of Brick Lane in 1978. On the other hand, you have the Battle of Cable Street of 1936, when the black shirt, the fascist of Mosley wanted to march through the Cable Street, which was predominantly a Jewish area. There was a kind of resistance. The Jewish community, with the help of other progressive and left-wing militants, if you like. So for me, these two events are in parallel. The Battle of Cable Street of 1936 and the Battle of Brick Lane in 1978. And they both resulted in good. They had good results.
I mean, they have a good result, at least because when I first came in '75, and walking through East London was a scary thing. I mean, I personally was beaten up by 3 times.
And you were the racial harassment officer.
I mean, before that I was beaten up. I survived. I could have been killed during that time.
The book that you were talking about just now, it's the Borough, 2004. Is this borough does not refer to the borough of Tower Hamlets?
No, it's
this is the borough.
It's a borough because it is a story of Topon Ali. He is an illegal immigrant, so he kind of burrows in underground, and is to an extent inspired by one of my, if you like, literary hero, Franz Kafka. The idea that once you are in danger, you always have to find a way out, an escape route. Either you can become a giant insect and fly away, or you become a giant mole, burrow your way out. So that metaphor I used, illegal immigrant, and he supported in the underground city within the city. He supported the network of people to sustain him.
Great. And both novels, like The Ethics of Travel, the Song of Our Swampland. That's also something about
Song of Our Swampland is set in 1771 during the war of Bangladesh. It is also to an extent drawn from my own personal experience, So during the war,
you had to walk through the swamp.
Yeah,
for 7
during
days.
the walk, we walked through the swamp. We tried to cross to India first using boats, on a boat, but we couldn't, do that. And then finally, literally, we walked to, India across the swampland. So this is the the of the emergence of Bangladesh as an independent nation.
Right.
And I tell this story from the point of view of a protagonist who doesn't have a mouth.
That's good.
I imagine how he must be thinking and imagining the emergence of emergence of a new nation.
And your book, The Ethics of Travel, that's a very different book from
Yeah. I mean,
from
ethics
Marco
of
Polo to Kafka.
Yeah, I mean,
you just mentioned.
Yeah, Ethics of Travel from Marco Polo to Kafka is a philosophical book. I wanted to explore the idea of cross-cultural encounter, how it is possible for us to cross in a boundary and meet someone who is stranger to oneself,
Right.
and what happens in that encounter, and how also often we fail to encounter. We cross boundaries and meet someone seemingly a strange one, the outside, yet we fail to
But why do we fail? Why do we fail? Our own inefficiency, or
No, it is nothing to do with inefficiency. It is our precondition. We don't go with sufficient openness. We already try to figure out who that stranger is.
Right.
We have a particular views about the stranger.
even without knowing him.
Yeah. We have a particular view. We don't take a stranger as a stranger. If you encounter stranger as a stranger, then your habitual parameters of existence, the kind of codes, and mental you use to process to understand the world will be disrupted.
Right.
So that's why we create this boundary, a shell, and fail to encounter the other.
Is it a protective wall?
Yeah.
So the others don't penetrate.
Yeah.
They don't seem real me.
Yeah. So, protective wall is an invisible wall. Is a wall within your mind.
Yes.
So I was explaining how it is possible to can break that the protective wall inside your psyche, and then go to the stranger in your absolute nakedness. And encounter and see whatever happens in that risky encounter.
So what is your conclusion at the end of this book?
No, it is an optimistic one. And my position was that historically we don't find that many instances where people genuinely crosses the boundaries, but at the same time there are creative artists who showed that it is possible to cross that boundaries, but for that one has to take enormous risk.
Right. So if we were to think of the Red Indians and the white men, so who would be looking at the other with suspicion?
No, I mean, obviously the Red Indian is the figure of the other in the sense that, I mean, looking from the so-called Native Americans in a point of view, the arriving white man would be the other. But the thing is, it is also a question of power. Who has got the gun? Who has got the resources? Who has got the power? because
manpower.
It is the kind of white man who invaded Native American land with the guns, with all the kind of latest modern technologies and power. So in this sense, and obviously the white Americans, they need to place the Reddidian and particular place in their psyche, map them in a particular place where it can be then justified, why it is right to dominate and colonize the Reddidian, so-called Reddidian.
Right.
I call them Native American.
Right. So that's what we should call.
Yeah.
Anyway, coming to your book, present book that is in front of us, Godzilla and the Songbird.
Yeah.
It was you completed it in 2000.
Yeah, 2024.
24.
Yeah.
And you completed it. It was published in 2024 or 25?
24.
24.
Yeah. Yeah.
And how has been the response to this?
Response has been very good. It is simultaneously published in the UK by People's Tree Press.
Yeah.
It is also published in India by Speaking Tiger Books.
Right.
So in both India and the UK, and UK obviously they distribute to Europe, rest of Europe, Americas, Australia. So the response has been extremely positive. And those people who have read the book, those who try to contact me and communicate with me about the book, it seems very positive. Yeah.
Well, you have also contributed to collections of stories, anthology.
Yeah.
What are these stories about?
So that story, the one story in particular, I wanted to explore the presence of Bangladeshi workers in rural England. So this particular story called Catching Pheasants, Pheasants the Bird. It is the story of two restaurant workers work in a very provincial English town. So it is the encounter with English countryside,
Right.
And also is a kind of encounter with the, if you like, archive of history, because pheasants apparently as a bird originally come from Indian subcontinent. I don't know, and for me it has always been archetypal English bird.
Yes.
It came to me as a surprise that it came from India.
What would they call it in India?
I don't know. Some kind of, I don't know.
Some sort of paki.
Bon paki, bon murug, I don't know. Yes, something like that.
I think there's a word, something like murgabi.
Yeah, could be.
That means murg.
Yeah.
It's like the cock.
Yeah.
And abi means water.
Okay.
So pheasants do visit water, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that must be murgabi.
Yeah, could be.
Yes.
Because
thanks for the Persian.
Yeah.
Mapmakers of Spittlefield.
Yeah.
Who are the characters that you have created there?
The Mapmakers of Spittlefield. I mean, main character.
We'll go to the characters there, but there is. I think there's 1,000 characters.
Yeah. The main character of Mapmakers of Spittlefield, particularly the title story, is someone who's supposedly mad. So that mad figure, he wanders around East London, street by street. He walks day and night, wears colorful clothes, always in matching suit and matching hat. He walks the street, and people think he's a mad just wandering. but in his mind he's constructing a new map, a new territory. And so they send him the so-called mad catchers to catch him, because they know that, you know, once he completes the map of East London, then this territory in the inner city of London will be foreign to them. It will be claimed by the immigrants.
Right.
Yeah. So this is the, you know, obviously there is a loss of play of characters and a plot and subplot, because the person who is looking for the madman to warn him, the mad catchers are after him. Actually, the mad catchers are after him, the young man who is looking for the mad one.
Well, it's a very colorful area, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
We have some historical characters like the madman of Brick Lane. You know, remember that?
Yeah,
he went around killing people.
Yeah. That was the long time history. But our madman is not a sinister character. It's not like a Jack the Ripper, you know, character. You know, but he wants to survive. You know, our wanderer, he just wants to survive. He wants to make a little home, a safe home for himself and his community. He has no sinister intention of killing anyone.
Have you done any study on Jack the Ripper? Really, was it a real character or it's a myth?
I mean, I know to an extent that people generally know. So there has been lots of, you know, speculation. Even there has been a speculation that he belonged to part of the royalty. So I don't know. Even today, lots of, you know, tourists, the American tourists particularly, come to looking for Jack the Ripper in East London.
They come for the pilgrimage.
Yeah. It became a big tourist industry. So
it has. Everything has got some. Money mattering, money making up. One of his reviewers have written, it's a brilliant satirical saga filled with myth, folklore, adventure, and history. Beautiful ode to friendship in its own way, it says. Socio-cultural and political issues pertaining to class, caste and religion, as also geographical ideologies. What made you write this novel? I mean, this is a quite over 400 pages, and you have created so many characters that I got the book from you about 7 days ago. I must confess I've not been able to read even half of it, but I've leafed through and tried to get an idea about the book and can't say that I've read the book, but I depend on you to tell us what's it all about and what made you write this book.
When I finished my last book set in Bangladesh during the time of the War of Independence, Song of Our Swampland, from there I thought that Bangladesh story you cannot just cover in one piece of work.
No.
Yeah. So I thought I wanted to continue that story of the growth and the joy and trauma of the passage of time from 71 to now, not as a kind of historical testimony, but in terms of our hopes and desires and disappointments, and to tell a story around that. So and my immediate prompt motivation was telling the story of my small town, which is not that small in the Bangladeshi context. The town is called Mominabad in the novel, but actually is a fictionalized version of Mymensingh, the town that I grew up in the 60s.
Why did you call it Mominabad?
Mohammad Pothe, because Mymensingh is apparently named
after the Raja?
After a person who was called Momin. Momin. And the old name of, during the colonial period, I think before it became Mymensingh, it was called Nasirabad. So I combined the two together, Momin and Nasirabad.
Great.
Then I called it Mominabad. But it's actually Mymensingh.
It's the biggest district it used to be. It's the biggest district in Bangladesh. But now there are so many divisions that and there are so many zillas and upazillas, and one forgets where we are. But probably it is easier for administration. And because the people don't have to travel to the district towns for litigations and all that, so it's okay. So everything is done locally. At least that's what we believe. That's what we have been told. How do you react to this statement that it reminds people of a suitable boy and midnight children? Is it because the number of characters or the volume that it has?
Well, I mean, because this is a problem that most writers feel. So, I mean, people try to compare or want to see in the light of the works and the authors they already know. So, in a sense, particularly abroad, because writing about Indian subcontinent, Bikram Seth and Salman Rushdie, they are well established figures. So if you are late arrival to the sea, people want to look at your work, understand your work that in lens. Light of the what they have already read. So it doesn't mean that my works are similar to them. But at the same time, historically, I suppose it covers some ground with Midnight Children, because Midnight Children, in a sense, started with the independence and partition of India. And my novel also starts in 1946 in Calcutta, in a sense that the communal riot and the massacres and casualties of the riot and subsequent partition of Bengal and that catastrophe that befallen both us in East Bengal and in West Bengal. So I suppose it is the separation of Bengal for us a kind of primal trauma. So in a sense that the book begins with that.
Right. When you write a book of over 400 pages and they are very tightly spaced, when you create so many characters, how do you handle them?
I mean, you have lots of minor characters. So first you have one central character, and in the case of Godzilla and Songbird, he is Bulbul. Bulbul is the songbird. He is a child, orphan, child, brought over by his grandparents to present-day Bangladesh, and grew up in a small provincial town in Bangladesh. And it is his story from his naive beginning to his growing friendship and his awareness, particularly his awareness in terms of his religious consciousness. And then he acquires political consciousness. Then he becomes a journalist, and falls in love, and he's not very successful at love. but finally we end the story in Sundarban. The man-eating tiger infested in the story, at least in Sundarban, and his exile crossed the border into India. So he came from India in 1946 after the riot of 46, and then sort of goes back to India in 1975.
You must have seen this news item that they have spotted some leopards in Upper Chittagong hill areas recently. Some cameras that were put there, and they have a spot. So they're very happy that at least some wildlife is coming back. Because you said that this Royal Bengal tigers at least.
I mean, the tiger, features very prominently in the story, because when his grandfather came, he was like a successful merchant, jute merchant in Kolkata. But when he came to Bangladesh, present day in Bangladesh, then East Pakistan, in the small town, no one takes him very seriously. He thought, well, if I go on a tiger hunt and bring a trophy from Sundarban, people will give me proper respect. But obviously his tiger hunt went disastrously wrong, and
did he end up inside the tiger?
No, he didn't. But in a way, because he failed to shoot the tiger, but the hunter got him tiger's skin or so he brings them back and telling the people that he had killed the tiger. But his bulbul, his grandson, spilled the beans because he took his grandson on the tiger hunt. He knows the truth. So that kills him eventually.
So where do you get your ideas from for writing?
For myself, I draw from my own personal experience. Being a migrant in England, also my memories of Bangladesh, and also encounter within history. And in the process of writing, obviously you use your fantasy, imagination as well. So history, experience, imagination put together, you make a novel.
Great. Who are your favorite authors?
I have a lot. I've been inspired by lots of writers from South America. So the first writer that I fell in love is from Argentinian writer called Julio Cortázar. Obviously, I like Gabriel Garcia Marquez, as well. Yeah, I mean, those are mainly South American writers has been my favorite writers. Yeah.
What about Bangladeshi writers?
Yeah, I mean, I read Bangladeshi writer in my teens. I read Sayyid Oliullah, Lal Shalu, and I read Shahidullah Kaisar, Johir Raihan, Somsoptok, Hajar Bosor Dore. These are the few novels I read. I read few writers from obviously Sharat Chandra. When I was a boy, about 13, 14, read a lot of Sharat Chandra. So my reading is not that extensive in Bangla, but the two novels that made enduring impact on me when I was reading, one is Bibhuti Bhushan's Pother Pachali. Another was Shahidullah Kaisar, Somsoptok. These two novels had still I remember, although I read maybe, I don't know, more than 50, 60 years ago. I haven't read them again, but I still remember these two novels.
Right. How do you find time to write?
Well,
And when?
now I'm not working, I'm retired.
Right.
But when I was working, I had to do lots of professional academic writing.
Right.
But when I decided to write fiction, I will make time.
Right.
Yeah.
This Godzilla and the Songbird, you have created a kind of place which has seen a lot of turbulence.
Yeah.
What would you do if you went there? Would you enjoy it?
To Bangladesh again?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, every time I go to Bangladesh, despite whatever happens, our turbulent history, and I still enjoy
Right.
going to Bangladesh.
Very briefly, what does this cover represent, Godzilla and the Songbird?
Yeah,
the green color and the red.
Yeah, green is a flag of Bangladesh. Anyway, the story of Bangladesh.
Right.
My story of Bangladesh is not completed yet. I'm in the process of writing a third novel.
Right.
So the Song of Swampland and Godzilla and Songbird, and the next one will form a trilogy.
Right.
Hopefully, it will give a some kind of story
Right.
of Bangladesh.
Yeah, please make sure that it is translated into Bangla.
Yeah. So
because,
I'm looking for translator. Anyone out there want to translate this book?
Please.
You are most welcome.
please make a note of it and do contact Professor Manzur Islam. Thank you very much, sir, for coming along and giving us your valuable time and on this very hot day in London.
Thank you, Niyaz Bhai, for your invitation. I enjoyed talking to you. Hopefully, we can continue this discussion.
Inshallah, we will.
In the future.
We will. There are so many characters there that I wanted to talk about, but like the characters of Dadu and Kalamia and scientists. And that fat man, Mota Sanu,
So
Bulbul, Doomsday Party.
Yeah, Doomsday Party, which is to an extent fictive. Doomsday Party hasn't happened, but I thought there was a rumor that Imam prophesied, that there will be a doomsday, but it never happened.
Right.
But I used my fantasy to create a story there.
Thank you very much, sir, for coming along, and it was a pleasure meeting you.
It has been a great pleasure for me.
And hosting you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for watching us, and hope that you have enjoyed the show as much as we have been producing. Thank you. See you again in a couple of weeks. Thank you.
Thank you.